ਤੈਅ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਰੇਕ ਓਕੇਜ਼ਨ ਲਈ। ਯਾਦ ਰੱਖੋ, ਇੱਕੋ ਨਾਮ ਬਲੂਬਰਡ ਲਿਮੋ। ਸੈਕਰਾਮੈਂਟੋ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਿਰਫ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਲਈ ਬਲੂਬਰਡ ਲਿਮੋ।
Good evening, Tracy. I'm your host, Raj Singh, and I have a co-host, Gurtej Atwal, along with me, and we have such a dynamic personality joining us to co-host this show, Harjinder Mattu. And I would like Harjinder Mattu to introduce himself on the show to our audience, and I will give a little bit brief about him if he's not going to highlight all the key points. So please go ahead, Harjinder.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Harjinder Mattu, as Raj already said. I served in the public education for 26 years, started in a community college at Sacramento, American River College. Then I was a teacher and vice principal and principal in 2 different schools in Sacramento. And my last principal assignment was in Modesto, Prescott Junior High School. And the assignment from where I retired was the director of education in Stockton Unified School District. And I'm very glad to meet all of you.
Thank you, and we're very honored and glad as well, Harjinder. And today, the objective of this show to have Harjinder with us. Just to clarify, he's not a candidate; he's our team member who's hosting a show with us. So, Gurtej, why don't you tell us who's our candidate today, and what this show is about, and what this candidate is running for before we bring the candidate on this platform.
Yeah, thank you very much, Raj, and thank you very much, Harjinder, for joining us today. So today we are here to do a straight talk with the candidate for Delta College for District 6, which comprises of Mountain House as well as the Tracy. So today we have a very dynamic personality who is running for the Delta College School District. His name is Casey Goodall. I'll add him, and he's an educationalist as well as an administrator. Very welcome, Casey.
Thank you very much. It's great to be a dynamic personality. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Casey. Thank you. And we are very glad to have you on the show as well. And I think we can start off with your introduction for our audience, who Casey is and what Casey is running for.
Okay, so my name is Casey Goodall. I have been the Associate Superintendent for Business at the Tracy Unified School District for the last 26 years. I came to that from the Navy, where I was a Lieutenant Commander in the Supply Corps. So I came from the Navy after 9 years, came right into this job, and have been in the same job for 26 years. Since 2000, back in 2000, since 2005, I've been a senior adjunct professor at the University of La Verne doctoral program, where they train administrators in organizational leadership. I'm doing that still to this day. So it's like I say, I'm a faculty member or adjunct faculty member for the doctoral program. Back in 2002, 2003, I taught finance for the California School Boards Association for new school board members. So I have this not only from the administrative perspective, but how things are supposed to work from a school board K-12, but similar. Also, from 2005 to 2008, I taught school finance for the University of Southern California in the Sacramento campus. I have a bachelor's degree in English and an MBA from Utah State University, and a doctorate from University of La Verne, the same program that I'm working for now. So that's kind of my educational and experience that I think kind of prepares me for this kind of educational role as an oversight.
Mr. Goodall, thank you very much for introducing yourself to us and our program. And you have a very impressive background, and it's an honor to speak to you on this program. And so to begin with, what would you say is your vision for the Delta College and the satellite campuses, and what would be your priorities to take place specifically in District 6 and Mountain House campus, and overall in Delta College?
I think my vision is a very pragmatic one. I don't have any fancy ideas about making big changes, but I think we all recognize that COVID-19 has changed the school operationally in the short term. I don't know how that will impact things in the long term, but I don't think we've yet felt the financial impact that we will see next year as the governor and the legislature starts to address the budget problems that they discussed last spring and then put aside. Really, they didn't make the cuts that they had talked about, and I'm not sure how they're going to fix that. But in January, when the governor comes out and talks about budgets for K-12 and community colleges, I think we may be in for maybe not a surprise, but some very negative financial news. And I think my experience going through 26 years of financial ups and downs has kind of prepared me emotionally and psychologically. And I've gone through a lot of strategies about how you deal with that. So I think, again, I have something to bring there from my own experiences, how to deal with financial times so that you can deal with things in the short term, but not be negatively impacted in the long term. There is evidence, data that Delta College has that students coming out of the high schools in Mountain House and Tracy are underrepresented in the Stockton campus. And in my own mind, I believe that's because I live 26 miles from that campus. My son, when he got out of high school, went to Livermore to school. I think that's something that other students who reach that age say, you know, it's easier commuting to Livermore than it is here. And I can just tell a story here that, you know, somewhere 20 years ago, let me just try to remember my little story here. So Jessie Garza Roderick, who's the associate dean out here at the Mountain House campus, she approached Tracy Unified 20 years ago, trying to put together a way we could provide better services to the Tracy students. Mountain House really didn't exist at that point. And we worked together to have students and teachers work in the Delta program at Tracy High School and West High School. And clear back then, Tracy Unified bought some buildings, installed them in what's now the adult school program right there behind the district office, and we ran a Delta College campus out of those buildings. It worked for 5, 6, 7 years. And that's when the campus in Mountain House started. And the idea was that was going to be a substantial campus that was going to grow fairly quickly with one of the bonds that passed years and years and years ago. Well, that small campus began, but the dream Jessie and I, Dr. Roderick Garza, and I shared back then was that there would be an expansive campus there that would be able to provide a broad spectrum of courses for students so they could maybe do all or most of your program right there in that campus. That hasn't happened, and now is not the time to be passing a bond to be constructing new buildings, but it is something I think Tracy and Mountain House deserve in the future, and it's a very substantial problem that needs to be solved. I have to say that I think it's Rahm Emanuel who talked about never let a good disaster go to waste. As schools are learning how to deal with COVID-19 operationally, we may learn something from that in the long term, we learn that some of that may help provide services in the Mountain House campus, and that we don't need as many facilities as they originally thought. So I'm open to learning from other people how that can best be done, but I really would like it for a student to be able to do all or most of their coursework from Delta College. I should also mention, and I didn't mention this in my educational part at the beginning, I enrolled as a student at Delta College. Started my first class a couple weeks ago, and I have to say that I've been very, very impressed with the teacher I have, but also with the support services that they provided in this COVID environment. I'm getting updates every day about services that they provide for students who need it. They've got food banks, they've got health services. There's a lot of stuff going on there, and I'm really impressed with how the campus operates. So I don't want to sound like I'm being critical, because I've been very, very impressed as a student and I think as a potential board member. How's that for a long answer?
Mr. Goodall, thank you so much. Actually, I think our audience will appreciate this detailed answer, and that brings so much. And by the way, just a brief question: which class are you taking there?
It's photography. I decided that when I retired, I was going to do something to get me out of the house, to go hang out with young people engaged in learning, and then this all got messed up, so it's all online. But I have to tell you, I'm really learning a lot. It's some good assignments that have been done online, so I've been very impressed with the learning as well, and I'm having fun. That was the important part.
That's wonderful, because you're getting first-hand experience how the education is being delivered at Delta College.
Right.
And as we understand that you will certainly like to expand the Mountain House campus, and so Mountain House needs to expand its program to attract more students. And what are there some programs in particular which you would like to bring to Mountain House?
I think that I would not. I think I would be overly confident to say that I know what the best programs would be. I think you want to start with the programs where there's the most interest by the students, so that you can fill those up and expand upon those. As I was thinking about how you could use online services to replace the traditional way we've done schools, I was listening about how do you teach band and orchestra and chemistry. Those are very, very hard classes to do online. And so it seems like those kind of support classes where you need a structured facility have to be there. And I don't know, I think there's people who've thought about this more than I have, about how you might get the most out of a facility if you build it for a variety of purposes, where a student might do some online courses 1 day a week and in person 2 days a week, something like that. I don't want to suggest that I know the answers to that, but I'm interested in focusing people's attention on that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Goodall. As you mentioned, you have a financial background. You are very much affiliated with the education, as well as you are a continuous learner. So from the COVID perspective, you also touched that how the disruption has been happening in the educational sector. So being a financial background, you also understand, yeah, the disruption is still coming in the financial aspect more. And 24,000 students, they are going on day-to-day basis, are affiliated on day-to-day basis with the Delta College. So what do you think? So if the financial aspect, it will be taking the college, or it will be try to take the college little bit back, a couple of years back, what would be your approach to deal with that financial aspect?
Well, I think in general, my idea about governance is that nobody knows the full answer to anything, least of all me. But what I do know is that many, many people have little parts of that answer, and that the best way to figure out how to respond to a crisis like this is inviting lots of people to participate. I have to say, though, that if the question is, I would like everyone's opinion about what should be cut, I can tell you I already know what the answer is. It's everybody else but me. So that's not as helpful when you're talking about what should you cut. I think the question is, how can I and how can you, how can everyone else do things differently to get us through 1 or 2 years of financial crisis in an economical way. And I think you get very, very creative solutions to those kind of questions. And again, I don't presume to have the answers to those, because I think the questions, there are so many questions that need to be asked about that, and then finding answers for those. And the best way to do that is by involving lots of people with expertise, like they've done, I think, for the most part, in sorting out how to teach classes this year. It's the expertise of the teachers themselves, the support staff. People have done, I think, an excellent job, because they know how to do it, and they've been asked to do it, and they've all come forward and made things work. And
Right.
so I think you just continue with that same kind of thing, asking for help.
Right. So bringing a partnership and coordinating with the resources that will be available and bringing the right expertise to go through this phase. Now I'll just hand it back to Harjinder.
Okay, thank you.
Please.
Ms. Goodall, so, being some variety of background at K-12 schools, so we always think about collaboration with community colleges, being at high schools, and then for community colleges having vertical collaboration with four-year colleges. So where is Delta in that from that perspective, and what initiative can be taken to broaden that collaboration?
I think what I can do, I have connections with all of the high schools in Tracy. I can very easily, I think, make those same kind of connections in Mountain House, and I can help facilitate that advertising or whatever it is, trying to entice students to sign up. And I would very much like to see more work done on high school students being able to earn coursework towards their community college goals. That's been difficult in the past, but it's something I would very much like to pursue. And I think I know the people who can maybe help that happen. So from K-12 moving to the community college, I think I have a lot of relationships that can help me help that. I don't so much at the top end going out. So I'd have to depend on someone else for that.
Right. No, sure. So one more thing comes to my mind as we were discussing COVID. So it is taking an emotional toll on all the students. So K to 12 also, students going to community colleges and all the students. And going forward also, it will have a lasting impact on the students. So do you think as an institution, educational institution, so certain programs or certain things should be started or should be facilitated to those students to just kind of come out of those mental situations?
I'm going to say yes, but I don't know what those would be, and I don't even know how to think about that, but I will bet you money people are thinking about that now. And again, my idea would be to support that kind of conversation. I don't know how you help that, but I can just imagine the frustration of being locked in a house for a year as the prime of my life, trying to burst out. And like I said, I was going to go out and take my photography class and meet people and get out in the community but it's nothing to me. I've got a pretty nice life going here, just being retired and sit around with my dogs. But as a student looking toward the future, I think that's got to be tremendously frustrating. So I support that idea you're talking about. I would work very much with the institution.
Right.
I don't have any thoughts on it right now.
Mr. Goodall, you mentioned various groups that are disadvantaged having support at community college level. How about extra support for students with disabilities?
Yeah, so individuals with disabilities, so two areas that they're both impacted according to my access to the campus. And again, I wonder about if I have a disability of some kind, how difficult is it for me to get to the campus? How difficult is it for me to get around the campus? And I don't have any background on that, but it's something that makes me wonder about that. What could we do to encourage individuals with disabilities in the access area? Also in basic skills and English as a second language, surprisingly. So I saw a lot of support. I'm seeing that as a student there. There's a lot of support offered. I don't know how many students are taking advantage of that. And then the last area is completing their degrees. So if I don't get the access, if I don't get the basic skills, I'm not finishing my program. I think because they're in three of those areas, it's an area that really needs a lot of study, I think, but I think you're hitting upon something that needs to be resolved.
for students in the Tracy area to commute to Delta College campus in Stockton.
I missed the first part of the question.
So, one problem we discussed initially, in fact, you brought out students having difficulty to commute to Stockton, so they would rather go to Livermore. Is there some conversation or some initiative having public transportation from Tracy area to Stockton, main Delta College campus?
I thought about that. So I thought, I suspect that's not very practical. If you got a bus that goes every hour, that starts to be very expensive. And I don't know how full it would be at different times. So as my classes are scheduled through the day, you have to coordinate those classes with the bus. So I don't know how practical it would be. It'd be something interesting to look at. What might be more practical is carpooling, which who wants to ride in someone else's car? But I think carpooling seems to me to be a more practical solution to that. But again, if I ride over with someone, I might end up riding back with someone else. So it might be a complex system to manage, but I was thinking about it. If I have to drive my car over there, but I got 3 other people to help me pay for that, and it's basically I'm working as a online driver. I could help pay my own costs by sharing with other people. So that might be the better solution.
Right. So as Casey, you mentioned you are going to work as a facilitator, and you have a great expertise, great kind of, you have worked with the Tracy Unified School District. So one thing, as Harjinder mentioned, it is hard for the students, and you also brought the point from these areas to commute to Stockton. So the other thing I was just thinking, so we have a wonderful infrastructure of schools in Tracy, and those are the students which will be going towards the universities or going towards the community colleges. So is there any opportunity to discuss with the Tracy Unified School District or Mountain House school districts to use their facilities and run some of the courses there?
We've done it in the past, and it had, what I found that is that some of it worked better when the classroom being used was used in the daytime by a teacher. Teachers get very possessive about their classrooms, and people come in and touch their stuff and mess things up. We found in the past when we were doing this, it was more successful if a Tracy teacher was hired to provide the community college course in their classroom. And that took the politics out of that problem. But I suspect that's something we could pursue again. Yes.
Sure.
So, Mr. Goodall, we are very impressed with your background, especially in your financial background and your military background. I think you will bring a lot of assets with you in this situation, and your willingness to work in the team, not just bringing your own ideas. So, very appreciate. Is there anything else you would like to touch?
I don't think so. I'm exhausted.
So I would request you, Casey, so briefly, please share with our audience, with our voters, so how they will remember you.
I'm Casey from Tracy, so that's easy for people to remember. Casey from Tracy, vote for me.
Yeah, and maybe briefly summarize some of the key points that you are considering, so that our audience, they can listen to those and bring in more questions to you for clarification.
Okay, so think Casey from Tracy is number 1. Number 2, a lot of experience as an administrator in a school district, but also as an instructor in teaching people finance, but also as a facilitator in the program at the University of La Verne, which teaches a lot of facilitation as well. And what I want to accomplish is I want to get us through COVID-19, and I'm thinking that's a 2 or 3 year project. I I want to expand the programs and facilities at Mountain House. And I think the facilities thing is going to be something that has to wait because it's a terrible time to be asking people about, people are at risk themselves financially. This is not a time to talk about spending more money, but I think your idea about expanding into the classrooms of our own schools here in Mountain House and Tracy, like we've done in the past, and then again, just dealing with these specific subgroups that need our help in making them successful. I heard a guy talking the other day about he went to a college. He was a math major, and he was not good at math, but he was lucky enough to get a teacher who considered it his own failure if a student failed. And so now this guy is a famous economist, and he attributes his success to that teacher who made him into a good math student. I think that's what we need, and it's a magical thing, but I'm hoping for that. That's to make the students succeed.
Right.
So that's my summary.
Thank you, Mr. Goodall. It has been an honor to talk to you on this program. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been nice meeting you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Goodall. Thank you, Mr. Harjinder, for informing our voters. So at the end, I will request our voters to please ask your follow-up questions to Casey on his Facebook page, or you can reach out to us. We will forward those questions to Casey for further clarification. Thank you very much all, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.